Welcome back to Creating Dementia Solutions. Richard Pyatt here. It's a Miles for Memories program, and you might be seeing us on Access Vision. You might be hearing us on a podcast or seeing us on YouTube. Wherever you are, thank you for joining us. Miles for Memories is on Facebook. Click the like on that page after you search for it, and then you'll be alerted when these new episodes come available. I don't know where 2024 went, but it is fleeting. This is our final 2024 episode. And Sherry Sherbin is back with us, Miles for Memories founder and lead volunteer, to kind of look back and look forward.
Yeah, for sure. You know, in 2024, a lot of what we collectively as a leadership team decided to focus on was really the caregiver. And what needs the caregiver had, and what direction the caregiver would seek support if they could. One of those programs that just recently got released is our music program, and it is intended to help support the caregiver who's at home and help them to utilize music as a moment of connection, a moment of respite, a moment to allow their loved one to smile again, tap their toes, and then still get something done on their own, right? So the music program is great, and it's just really rewarding to see a loved one smile.
Yeah, and that is just one of the keys that can unlock that. I'm sure I said this before when we talked about music, but I think right away of Tony Bennett. And the extent to which his dementia had progressed. But if you put him in front of a piano and a microphone, bam, he was back.
Yeah.
To the extent that he could be on stage at, I don't know, where was it, Radio City Music Hall or something, and just do it.
Right.
So that is testimony to that power, isn't it?
Yeah, it is rather amazing. I mean, even you or I, a song comes on from our youth, and you know, you start thinking about what you were doing then, and then suddenly the lyrics come back, and you find out later on that they weren't the same ones that you thought they were. Yeah, so,
True. Is that what they said? Oh.
But it does. It gives you an opportunity to connect. It takes you back. It's soul filling in many cases, depending on what you're listening to. Music is powerful.
So how does Miles from Memories use music, and how will it in 2025?
So one of the pilots, as we just launched it, I will hopefully then develop into a program really much like what I was telling you, is an opportunity to take music, allow their loved one to connect to that music, and it lifts their spirits, it brings joy. In many cases, what we have seen is that it actually helps them to sing or make noise. Maybe someone who hasn't been speaking for a couple of months, which is part of our original pilot, was singing with the music that was coming on. And more important than just the individual who's living with the form of dementia that is impacting their life, it is also, I don't know if more important is the right word, but just as important, it's so valuable to the caregiver. It is valuable to the caregiver from the standpoint of you can utilize those things that already exist in your home to find the music and be able to utilize it in your own home without having to buy new resources. It's a reapportioning of some of the things that you might already have, or we can help connect you with things if that's what you need, to be such a release and an unburdening. It's something I've heard many times over the past couple of episodes, and being able to let that go. And maybe you can enjoy that same music but in a different way, because maybe it's your spouse, and maybe that was, you know, the song that you danced to at the first dance in high school.
Yeah,
right?
It has meaning for the caregiver too.
Yeah, so there's joy that sometimes bursts out in the form of a tear, that it touches you in a new way.
On the other hand, as we talked about, the notion of unlocking that person's connection with music, there's joy there. And that helps the caregiver feel a sense of accomplishment, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. You know, and that step in and of itself is part of one of the major focuses moving into 2025, and that we're going to be looking at education. We're going to be looking at learning more about all of those things that can help to reduce your risk for dementia. And beyond that is maybe you're already diagnosed with some form of dementia, and how those lifestyle changes can still impact you in a positive way. So a lot of education and a lot of learning how all of those new things can impact you, your loved one, and even your grandchildren.
How do you do that? How do you focus on what to focus on?
Yeah.
It's been 12 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Miles for Memories, 12 years. So every year, well, probably more frequently than that, you're looking at what are we doing? How can we do more? How do we connect in ways that are needed? These are questions that you're constantly asking. This is a lot of work, Sherry.
It is a lot of work, and even because it's done by volunteers, the power behind the message is really important. The buy-in, if you will, of those volunteers and the value of what we can give back is so critically important. Whether we're creating a higher level of peace of mind for those individuals who are now wearing a bracelet, or that individual now comes forward and says, my loved one was returned home and I didn't even know they were gone.
Oh my.
My loved one was removed from a burning building because they were registered in the Help Home database. Those messages are very powerful, and it's all because a group of individuals said we need to have programming to support those individuals today. How can we support them? How can we be the pillar that helps them stand up, or the support that helps them to sit down, or whatever makes that day better? It's one day at a time, sometimes one moment at a time. And we welcome any volunteer that would like to walk through the door. Collectively, as a group, we come together and we say, okay, this is the money that we've raised this year. These are different projects that have been talked about. These are different ways that we might be able to meet that end. Who would like to spearhead this part, and this part, and this part, and this part, and this part? And let's make them all happen, if we can. We spend the money that comes in. Our money is all housed at the Battle Creek Community Foundation. And the money that comes in for Calhoun County is spent in Calhoun County. Mm-hmm. I mean, even the money that we utilize for research that looks at prevention issues, which is a lot of what we're going to be doing next year, and sharing that education going forward, all these great things that we have learned, and how each program that we develop somehow comes back to one of these lifestyle programs that's going to impact the way that our risk is evaluated for dementia is really, really important. So everybody puts in their input. We all collectively make some decisions. And the great thing is that many of these programs are established once you get to a certain point. And so those all continue. So we will still have all of the safe return devices. We will still have the Help Home database. We have new partners that come on all the time to help monitor and move those things forward, such as the Sheriff's Department coming on board and supporting the Help Home database, and dispatch being that support in that whole process. And we just sort of build on top of one program, which then builds on top of another program, and you suddenly go, how about that? We can do that this year.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Well, you raise an interesting point, though, that it's not just about creating new programs. It's about advancing the ones you have created. So these are going on concurrently.
Yeah.
So you're making more work for yourself.
Well, in a manner of speaking, we are, but we have great volunteers. I know I say that a lot, but Connie is amazing. You've had Connie on the show before, and not only is her experience amazing, but the commitment to helping with all of those things that make our organization that much more professional. She just does great work. Every one of the folks that we've had on the show over this last year contribute in one way or another to make a difference for those that are impacted by dementia right here in Calhoun County.
I would also expect, too, that the volunteers are conduits to what's going on with people. Exactly. And then that information comes back to you, and that can fuel ideas for what you're going to do in the future. Most
definitely. You look at all the different agencies that are a part of supporting Miles for Memories and what they do every single day, and then they say, but gosh, if we had this, just think how much better your program could be, our program could be, and a new need that could be met in that way by simply working together and maybe adding one little twist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great.
You mentioned the technology, and it's been a little while since we've talked about that. The technology has gained interest outside of Calhoun County, hasn't it?
Yeah. And to that end, we've had outside organizations, funders that have come forward and said, can we support this in other areas besides Calhoun County? Would you be willing to share outside of areas in Calhoun County? The answer is, by all means, if we can help somebody bring a loved one home, that is awesome. But here's the thing, you need to pay for it.
Yeah.
You need to pay for it in your area, and you need to pay for it in your area, but we can come in and help you set up your own system, the way the whole thing comes together, help teach you about each of the different devices and what we have found to be helpful with each device. I mean, not every device is going to be needed by every person, but there's an option of devices to better meet the needs of the person, either who might be wearing it, sharing it, trying to understand what it might be, and to learn that they are no longer limited, if you will, by the four doors that they live behind, because a device will allow them or help them to step outside of that door and enjoy the richness of life that there is still left to live.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen that technology, to have a look, because it is pretty incredible. And simply put, it's just an idea that if someone wanders, this is an easier way to get them back where they belong than the prior route, which was the ER and the police department and all of these things that could simply be eliminated if a person could just scan that bracelet and know where that person should be or who they should call.
Yeah.
So it's a magnificent idea.
Yeah.
And obviously others are beginning to recognize that as
Definitely.
well.
Yes. And we have great partners along those lines as well. Get My ID is a magnificent partner in bringing this technology to the community and making it available no matter where you happen to be, right? It doesn't matter if you're in Battle Creek or if you're in Sault Ste. Marie or if you're in Canada or Arizona. We even had some of the pilot folks take it on trips that they've been to. So as long as there's a cell phone reception, you can wear it in France if you want to.
Yeah.
On the Eiffel Tower.
It will work.
It does. Yes.
It's really great technology. When you dream about what you want to see happen under the auspices of Miles for Memories, what comes up?
A support. Someone who feels like they have nowhere to turn can reach out to us, and we can provide either the direction for another agency or support to be able to gain that peace of mind, some respite that might be happening, how to help support that loved one coming home, how to understand the progression of the dementia that you're dealing with, because it's different for each and every one of them, to learn new things and ways to engage. Sometimes we look at a diagnosis and go, but the reality is that there's so much more that you can continue to do. You can have fun still. You can still travel, as an example, and enjoy that day. But you also need to learn how valuable maintaining your hearing really is, maintaining how being able to see and interpret what's in front of you really is, making sure that all of those senses really work. And it is a place, I don't want to call it a place of refuge, but it is definitely a place where folks can turn to get some solutions for their next steps. And we're not everything to everybody, nor should we be, right? Taking advantage of everything that's already here and referring folks to things that already exist or collectively maybe that we're building on together. I don't ever want anybody to feel hopeless, I think is a really good way of saying that.
And you probably get those calls or connections where folks have just learned of a diagnosis of dementia and they're overwhelmed.
They are.
Yeah.
And you could spend a significant amount of time on the phone with that individual, listening to their story, because sometimes that's what they need. Sometimes they don't know who to share it with. They don't even know what words they're supposed to use yet. And learning how to interact with that person, maybe they come into the office to get a bracelet or a keychain or something of that nature, and you could spend a half an hour to 2 hours listening to a story, trying to help that person see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is a peace of mind that can be obtained. There is hope for steps that you want to take. And it's a matter sometimes of just being willing to look at things a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned a little while ago, and we talked about it in an episode not that long ago, those things that we have control over
Yeah.
that could help reduce our risk. And you pointed out this is going to be Miles for Memory's focus in 25.
Yeah.
Just briefly, what do you mean by that?
Well, when you look at those things, part of the scary part of any of the dementias is that we feel as if it's something that's thrust upon you and you had no control over. And what we are now learning is that we do have some level of control in terms of reducing our risk. So if dementia is a great fear because your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, then your brother's brother, and so on and so forth, and you see it just in so many different family members, you feel as if you are destined to be that next person in the family to be dealing with this. It might not be true, right? You can take very intentional steps to reduce your risk. Does it mean it's going to eliminate it? No, not by any means. But the more that we can help educate folks about some of the things that they can do, the way that you can take all of these different things to heart, or maybe one or two, maybe just changing a few of them is going to make a big difference. Maybe the way in which nutrition has become a part of your life and movement, which you hear me talk about all the time, coming to the research updates that we do, learning more about what you can do and do for your loved one matters. And so education, learning about how we can reduce our risk, how we respond to a diagnosis, all of those become important aspects in the journey forward.
All right, so be with us for that in 2025 and Miles for Memories and all of those nuggets of information, which end up being very useful. And we're going to help you try and understand that.
Yes.
Is the point. Sherry, thank you. And
Thank you.
Happy 2024. And we look on to 2025.
Yes.
Thank you. Miles for Memories has that Facebook page, so click the like on that and you'll see a lot of what Sherry's talking about come across there in ways that are useful and you can connect with. So click the like on that, and we appreciate your being with us on Creating Dementia Solutions. Richard Pyatt here. Take care.